You know that feeling, right? The sweaty palms, the racing heart, the moment you have to speak in front of a crowd. Well, what if I told you that you're in very good company? And what if that fear is actually your greatest secret weapon? Okay, let's dive into how to turn that anxiety into real, powerful confidence, all thanks to the timeless wisdom of the one and only Dale Carnegie.
I mean, think about that name for a second. Daniel Webster. This guy was a legend, one of the greatest speakers in American history. And yet, he literally failed his first speech because he was so nervous. Carnegie points this out to show us something huge. Stage fright isn't some flaw you have. Nope, it's basically a rite of passage for anyone who's ever been great on a stage. And that's the question we all ask, right? If a giant like Webster struggled, what chance do we have? It feels hopeless. But here's where Carnegie just completely flips the script. He says that feeling isn't a bug in your system, it's a feature.
See that nervous energy? It just means you care. It means you have what Carnegie called a capacity for feeling. You know who doesn't get nervous? People who don't care. It's the people with real passion, with something important to say, who feel that jolt of adrenaline. So yeah, you're in amazing company. The real question is, how do you take all that energy and actually use it?
Well, a lot of teachers will start with the theory, right? They'll bury you in rules. Stand like this, gesture like that, modulate your voice. It's all about the mechanics, the how. But honestly, that usually just gives you a longer checklist of things to be nervous about.
Carnegie's approach, though, it was so much simpler, so much more direct. He understood that all that theory just piles on the pressure. So instead, he started with one powerful thing, the doing.
And this is it. This is the absolute core of his philosophy. You can't learn to speak by reading a book. You can't learn by thinking about it. You learn to speak by speaking. It's that simple, and it's a truth as old as time. You learn by doing.
It's kind of like learning to swim, isn't it? You can read 100 books on swimming technique, but you're not going to feel confident until you actually jump in the pool. Speaking is exactly the same. Every speech you give is like doing another lap. And the more laps you do, the less scary that water, or, the audience, starts to feel.
Okay, so if the big secret is just get out there and do it, then the next logical question is, how do we make sure we're doing it well? And that brings us to our next big idea, forging the tools. Once you're committed to practicing, it's time to sharpen your delivery. We're going to move from just surviving a speech to actually making it captivating.
First on the list, variety. Look, we've all sat through a speech where the person's voice is just flat. It's torture. Carnegie says it's like hearing someone hit the same single piano key over and over and over. Nature is filled with variety, and your voice should be too. Play with your pitch, change up your speed, adjust your volume. The goal is to keep your audience on their toes, not put them to sleep.
Now, this one is a really important distinction. A lot of people think that to emphasize a point, you just have to get louder. But yelling doesn't equal passion. It just equals, yelling. Real emphasis is about intensity. It's that earnestness that comes from deep down, from really believing what you're saying. It's something the audience feels, not just something they hear.
All right, now for one of my favorite tools, and it's probably the most underrated weapon in any speaker's arsenal. I'm talking about the pause. Silence isn't just dead air. Oh no, it is an active part of your speech. It's how you build tension, command the room, and really give your ideas some weight. So how do you actually use it? Well, Carnegie breaks it down beautifully. First, you pause before you say something important. This makes everyone lean in. They're hanging on your every word. Then, after you've dropped that big idea, you pause again to let it really sink in, to let it land. But a word of caution, don't overdo it or your speech will start to feel clunky. Use it, but use it strategically. And finally, let's talk about the words themselves. Carnegie's advice here is just golden. His big rule, don't try to sound smart, just be clear. Use simple, short, specific words, the ones that pack a real punch. And choose words that carry feeling, that have connotation. For example, the word home hits you way harder than the word residence, right? That's the difference. That's how you make your message unforgettable.
So, okay, we've got the tools. We know about variety, intensity, pauses, and word choice. But where does that real, magnetic, can't-look-away speaking power come from? It's not about your voice or your hands. Nope, it comes from somewhere much, much deeper.
I mean, just read that. If you cannot speak with conviction, be silent. That's powerful, right? Carnegie is not messing around here. His point is crystal clear. If you don't believe what you're saying, there is no way your audience will. All those tools we just talked about, they're useless without the engine of genuine belief.
And here's the thing. You can't fake this stuff. You just can't. Audiences have a built-in detector for phoniness. Your greatest asset, by far, is your own sincerity. When you speak from a place that's real, from a place of genuine feeling, people connect with you. That human connection is more powerful than any technique you could ever learn.
And when you have that deep conviction, something else naturally follows: enthusiasm. Carnegie loved this quote from Emerson, and it's easy to see why. Enthusiasm is the spark. It's totally contagious. If you are genuinely fired up about your topic, you're basically giving your audience permission to get fired up right along with you. Now this is a total game changer for your mindset. Stop thinking of yourself as a performer. You're not there to entertain. You are a messenger, a vehicle for an idea that matters. Once you realize that the message is bigger and more important than you or the audience, everything changes. Your ego shrinks, the fear of judgment fades, and you can walk out there with true authority and purpose.
Okay, so let's recap. We've learned to reframe our fear as a strength. We've got the tools to deliver a message effectively, and we know it all has to come from a place of true conviction. But why? Why do all this work? What's the big payoff? Well, as Carnegie shows us, the reward isn't just surviving a speech, it's about something so much bigger: the incredible joy of human connection.
This right here, this is the ultimate prize. It's not about the applause or being the center of attention. It's about this incredible, almost magical moment of connection. It's about taking a thought that's in your mind and successfully planting it in someone else's. That feeling of shared understanding, there's almost nothing like it.
And that brings us right back to the beginning, full circle. Remember that analogy about jumping in the water? Carnegie called it a cold plunge. The first time, it's terrifying, but once you've done it a few times, you start to look forward to it. You anticipate that jolt with pure exhilaration. That is the journey of public speaking. It's about transforming terror into pure joy.
So really, there's only one question left, and it's for you. You have that capacity for feeling we talked about. You now have the tools, and you have a message that you truly believe in. Your audience, they're waiting. They're ready to listen, ready to connect. So what are you going to say?